Behold, the glorious Sevagoth Warframe. The best frame for all of the things. Except for the things they are not the best at, but I'll tell you right now, there is a colorful variety of things that Sevagoth is good at. Obviously, so into Reap spam is the elephant in the room here, allowing you to kill groups of enemies pretty easily with scaling damage, the thing that virtually every other damaging ability in the entirety of Warframe is missing, which Sevagoth has on, only two really cheap abilities that have a very large base range. Interesting. Something that if a Warframe had it would be enough on its own, but there is much more, so much more. Gloom, and this might be a little unfair to give Sevagoth credit for, but it's the first infusible Helminth ability. It's a good ability anyway, and I'll get back to that in a sec, but it's the first infusible Helminth ability that's a channeled ability, which is uniquely good for some frames. Some Warframes have an abundance of energy and no particular way to spend it, and would welcome lifesteal all the time, and a slowing aura, potentially keeping you very safe if you can pay the energy, and plenty of Warframes can. Simply being able to infuse lifesteal that only costs energy is fairly powerful. But obviously it's very good on Sevagoth as well, because you can deploy it and get a bunch of Deathwell energy back very fast alongside Reap and Sow, on top of the fact that it essentially just keeps you alive automatically, provided that you are doing literally anything and have energy. These are pretty blunt, generally useful abilities. Sevagoth in this base, or maybe we'll say caster form, is very straightforwardly useful for the situations we tend to find ourselves in playing Warframe, killing hordes of enemies in this horde shooter and staying alive in a hands-off way while we do that. Solid frame, 7 out of 10. Oh, wait, sorry, forgot. When you play Sevagoth, you also get this little passive benefit where there's an entire second Warframe stapled to your 4th ability key, and that Warframe can die and you don't. You just go back into caster form. The Shadow. So Shadow's claws they're fine. You know, you get them as a melee weapon. They're perfectly usable. They're a little slow, but the animations look like King Boo from Mario, which is everything I've ever wanted, except for all of the other things that I want. And the Shadow has a very cheap, very quick casting ability that groups enemies up. That's already, you got a good melee weapon and you can pretty much effortlessly, pretty much for free, group enemies together. That is wonderful. Literally shoveling enemies into your death radius as you use Embrace to get them closer to you no matter where they are, for very little energy with practically no cast time. Absolutely fantastic. And if somehow anything isn't dying, you have a damage buffing ability. That is hilariously unnecessary, but it is a thing that you have. And I suppose Consume is a little mobility when you want it and a source of lifesteal. These are conveniences, unnecessary conveniences, but conveniences nonetheless. And in a world where every Warframe can get the job done, convenience, well, what else is there? Almost impossible to kill. The Shadow also has the benefit of dying and then you just go back into caster form, in which you can very quickly burst back up your Deathwell in 2 seconds and go back into Shadow form, creating a gameplay loop fulfilling, destructive, and overall stacking pretty much everything that we ask for in a frame, grouping enemies together, providing scaling damage in an area, keeping yourself alive. There is even a little mobility. And on top of all of that, if anything is somehow surviving, you have an ability to boost the damage of it. Except that the actual thing that tops it all off is that this is one of the few pirate-themed Warframes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wow, Sevagoth must be my favorite Warframe. Isn't that right?